One tough son of a bitch. This is the best description I can make of this plane. This is a video long time coming and it will be similar to my MiG-21 and variants video. It isn't focused specifically on modeling, but on the real aircraft instead. Since this plane is currently in the hottest war zone in the world and it is used simultaneously by both sides of the conflict, I came to the conclusion that it deserves my attention. I sincerely hope yours as well. The Su-25 Frogfoot was designed to replace Su-17 and MiG-27, latter ones being very fast and, with a single engine, were oriented more towards the relatively plain fields of Europe, where supposedly World War III was to be fought. The lack of redundant power plant and their complexity made them very vulnerable, and that was proven by the poor safety records, especially by the MiG-23BN and MiG-27. In peacetime, there were plenty of losses and constant problems that made the prediction for a real war pretty grim. Sukhoi Design Bureau approached the subject doing backwards in terms of innovation. They scrapped everything unnecessary like variable intakes, swing wings, and other complications related to high speed and altitude. What they came up with was a jet close in performance to Messerschmitt Me-262 only 30 years later. Absurd from a standpoint of that time, a time of constant strife for speed and altitude, but this decision proved to be the right one. Su-25 is a subsonic jet with a ridiculous ceiling of only 7,000 meters and modest speed of 800 kilometers per hour, or Mach 0.79. Any jet airline beats that. However, the high aspect ratio of the wing, as well as the combat flap setting, made it quite agile at slow speeds and particularly successful in the difficult Afghan terrain where it was first used. It was battle-Christian in Afghanistan, and that is where it got its fame for an indestructible warplane. The Su-25 Frogfoot can be categorized somewhere between a modern jet fighter and a helicopter. It is incapable of taking high-speed missions, but it is not a lot faster than an Mi-24 helicopter either. That helped filling a gap that eventually proved to be one of the most important areas in modern warfare. This is a fact that Su-25 by itself proves constantly. Throughout its life, it participated in almost any conflict imaginable with great survivability and success. The reasons for that are many, but most important is its sturdiness. From its humble beginnings, Su-25 was designed with the idea that IL-2 was made back in World War II. The Frogfoot had to be able to land on unprepared grass and dirt fields, which it still does, sustain all kinds of abuse, including from its pilots, and most importantly, survive hits from the enemy. Latter one is what Su-25 Frogfoot is known for mostly. There are plenty of pictures and videos showing Frogfoots with holes all over or even with missing elements getting back home with the pilots safe and sound. That made the airplane one of the favorites among its crews and of course a preferred tool for the Air Force. Interesting here to note is the fact that Su-25 is currently used by both sides in Russian invasion in Ukraine. The difference is that Russians often fly in pairs, while Ukrainians, due to lack of airframes, fly alone and on more dangerous missions. Of course, both sides lose planes, but if you take a look at the statistics, it quickly becomes obvious that there is no better warrior than the Su-25 in this war. Taking for example Su-34 and Su-30. They also incorporate ground attack roles, but since the beginning of the conflict in late February to this day, mid of May 2022, more than 10 Su-34s were lost and allegedly 7 or more Su-30s. Those in terms of price represent twice or even 3 times the fleet size measured in Su-25s. They are more expensive to fly and maintain, which in the end proved them not so worthy or, let's say, less capable of completing a task that a jet with the characteristic of a Second World War plane can handle, hence Su-25. On the other hand, you can forget about Ghost of Kiev and all its glory. This is a myth. Air-to-air war does not exist in that sense since at least 3 decades or more. Nowadays, after the initial strike, it is more about sweeping the terrain, and there is no better aircraft for that job than the Su-25 and the A-10. Here comes the inevitable comparison with the A-10. Fairchild A-10 is one of the most beautifully performing airplanes in an airshow that I have ever seen. It flies gently, with super maneuverability and graceful performance, considering its shape. Su-25, not so much. One is with high wing with anhedral, the other one is a low wing with dihedral. Past the basics, when you get deeper into aerodynamics, powerplan, navigation, and more aeronautical science themes, you will quickly understand that A-10 is clearly the superior airplane. It was designed with the absolutely same idea as the Su-25, but it is more user-friendly. While Su-25 has unpressurized cockpit and a non-variable intakes which cripples it in terms of altitude, A-10 can fly 1.5 times higher easily. Besides being pressurized, A-10 features turbofan engines compared to the old and quite obsolete turbojets installed on the Su-25. By the way, those are the modified version of MiG-21 engine and are called R95 for the first series and R195 for the later series of production Frogfoots. Latter ones are with 15% more power. A-10 can stay longer in the air and it is capable of air refueling while Su-25 is not. Cockpits are quite different too. Su-25 is designed exactly like Su-17, which is late 60s, early 70s cockpit design, which for an airplane entering service in the early 80s was obsolete from the get-go. Last but not least, the payload of Su-25 is 4 tons, vs 7 tons in favor for A-10, which is almost twice as much. A-10, of course, is a bigger plane, but turbofan engines are quite economical compared to the classic turbojets, and that covers the size issue. In terms of survivability, Su-25 is probably better though. While you have probably seen videos of A-10 landing on the desert floor, trust me, there is nothing in common with landing on an unprepared European grass field, which Su-25 is perfectly capable of doing. I've done both, although not in a jet, and I must say that using the US desert is quite easier on the airframe than what you get in an European theater. Also, this picture, well, it is worth 1,000 words. In case you're interested in more in-depth knowledge about Su-25, I can highly recommend these 2 books. It is a variation of the same book actually, by Efim Gordon, and contains a handful of information about the Frogfoot. The one on the left is the most recent release. Back to the plane. Maintenance personnel claims that Su-25 can run on almost any fuel, although this is probably an exaggeration. However, Russian-made stuff were never done with finesse and precision, but are often rugged and unrefined. With that said, in a war, this proves to work better. Being rugged and unrefined, slow and unpressurized, Su-25 seems to dominate the skies. Because if you follow closely the conflict of Russian invasion in Ukraine nowadays, you see mostly Su-25 buzzing here and there. Maybe an Mi-24 helicopter too. The rest are almost gone. They are either kept for future use or have been damaged or downed. War is expensive, we all know that, but sometimes cheap stuff that make it to the end of the war emerge as the better choice, although not the best to admire in terms of aesthetics or grace. Su-25 is one such tool of war. It is ugly, but it is almost indestructible. And in 40 years of service, nobody ever managed to change that statement. The positive news here are that both sides are using it. If Ukrainians didn't have it, well, it would have been bad for them. But I will end up with this. You never fight the country that produces the weaponry you use. Never, ever. Because where do you get your spare parts in the conflicts that are long and tedious? Su-25 is being used by the Russians and Ukrainians, and it is a Soviet-made jet. Both countries are former Soviet Union. Su-25 were not meant to fight one another, but the fact is that they can survive both sides' attempts to shoot them down. If that is not a good weapons delivery system, I don't know what is. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.